What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Pre-Order Bonus YouTube channel. This is the channel dedicated to analyzing and breaking down your favorite video games. If you like what you watch today, listen to our podcast. We're on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You can also watch us live, me, Rocksback, on Twitch, and my co-host, ChipDip18, on Mixer. For our first video, we thought we'd catch you up on the first 5 episodes of our podcast in just 10 minutes.
You play Destiny more than any other game, but it's also the game that makes you the most frustrated.
100%. That this game makes you feel like, oh my gosh, I've never been more angry. I've never been more like upset and like had more stress about a video game than this one. But ironically, in that same sentence, I probably never had more fun.
I will always say this about Destiny as a franchise, is I think that it's something that's going to go in video game history books forever because, in my opinion, the franchise has tried to meet in the middle for so many opposing genres and ways to play game and narrative styles that Bungie is constantly struggling because they have to, because it's the right thing for them to do, to make a game that is fun to play, that has a good story, and that keeps people coming back.
Mechanically, man, this game is so fun to play. Holy cow.
Destiny does beautifully is, and what Bungie does really is that connection. Finger to button, what is happening, it just feels too good. And that's part of the reason why I can forgive these narrative drop-offs, because it's like, you know what, but there's this piece of loot that I really want. Let me just run this for 45 minutes, and it'll feel good doing it.
Destiny has this weird, so you've talked about this before, Jake, but they have this ability to kind of take complex systems that exist in other games. I think the key example being World of Warcraft.
Yes.
Rating and min-maxing optimizations for different builds in World of Warcraft. So what Destiny does that's really cool mechanically is they take those ideas and they really make kind of light versions of them. So that's kind of what I see this modding in Arbor 2.0 as. It's like RPG light. Outer Worlds just came out last week, I believe, the 31st. Tell me about your time with it so far.
So I have played through, I haven't beat the game, right? I'll just get that out of the way. I played through the beginning sort of tutorial mission that takes place in the town of Edgewater and the planet Terra 2. I've done plenty of stuff in the Groundbreaker, which is sort of the first central hub that you come across. I've done just about every single side quest that there is up until this point, which is something that has been surprising me. I haven't been doing side quests in games unless I have to for a long time now.
A narrative perspective, narratively, this game nails it on many levels.
Yes.
Excellently written dialogue, interesting characters, interesting premise, interesting world. That it does something that not a lot of games are doing anymore, but it's true RPG. Obsidian developed it, and they kind of tie the things that you can do narratively with your character build.
I do really like the way that they start up the trait system. So you pick your character's traits, and that gives you a base for certain stats that you can build upon. And I really like how they give you batches of 10 points, and that each of the traits are in different groups, right? And one group will have 2 to 4 different traits, and up until that category reaches 50 points, you can select it, and with 1 point you boost all 3 of those traits in the category. I really like that, because I hate min-maxing. Obsidian came out and said that this game was going to be, a 25-hour campaign playthrough. It's not following these live service models. I think in terms of longevity, people in 2019 are really going to enjoy this game. If it gets some patches, they're really going to enjoy it in 2020, and then that's it. But that's the purpose of the game, and I think that's okay.
Hollow Knight is this indie platformer, single player only experience, huge 60-hour game. And you told me the other night you put, 40 plus hours into this?
Yeah, I'm 46 hours into it right now.
Right? Hollow Knight is a very true Metroidvania in a lot of ways, right? As you progress through the game, you get different abilities, and different areas of the map become more accessible to you. But what Hollow Knight does differently with that is the way that it integrates the narrative. I mean, when you first start out, you're really given very little information about Hollow's Nest, about the world that you find yourself in, even about the main character, but you're giving enough information to keep going. And so what I like about this narrative is that they finally a game has struck the balance between letting the player sort of discover what's happening in this world and being told, through exposition, what is going on.
I'll tell you what, the boss battles and the mini boss battles in this game are incredibly satisfying and fun to play. And so, like, the whole mapping system, while it's a good part of the game, the mechanics, it's almost like, it's like a double, it's a good part of the game, but the mechanics in this game are so tight and so good that it's like, man, I just want more of the, like, mini boss battles and boss battles.
I think I am a great example of the argument that good single-player games can draw people away from the big multiplayer experience. I will continue to support games like this. If there are more games like this, I will play them. My oldest son is getting to the point where we can now play similar games and share our experiences with them.
We are here to talk about Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. I think it's safe to say, and I'm pretty sure if there's anyone, most of the people who probably will listen to this podcast are probably Star Wars fans. I think at this point, it's pretty much a U.S. federal law to be a Star Wars fan and attend every Star Wars film.
Story that's outside the Skywalker family, but it's in the universe, and it's a story that's interesting, and it's a story where, people are going to lose. And what I really love about Fallen Order narratively is how it deals with trauma and how it deals with the consequences of war, how it's dealing with the consequences of Order 66 and what that has done to Jedi and what that has done to people all across the galaxy, and this new imposition of the Empire throughout the galaxy. And I think it does that in a really respectful way. I think it does it in a way that is very empathetic. People are going to relate to it, people are going to listen, and people will get emotionally involved in characters because of what those characters have gone through.
Is a smoothie of Uncharted, Metroid, Tomb Raider, and most prominently Dark Souls, and it's mixed into a blender and it's spat out.
But what's funny is that you take a Souls game, you change up a few things, and then you slap it on with a coat of Star Wars paint, and you get Fallen Order.
But being put into a Star Wars game, I think, is innovative, and being put into a game like this, I think, is very innovative. Integrating that existing kind of framework, and that was the biggest thing that was brought to the table with Fallen Order. The story-driven, third-person action adventure game with Dark Souls style combat. I think this game is about dying a lot. So there's going to be a lot of replayability here in my mind, mastering the combat. Today, we are going to talk about one of the games that has been in probably one of the biggest games in the wider consciousness of gamers and non-gamers alike, and that is Apex Legends. Not quite as big as Fortnite, but probably second to Fortnite in terms of the conversation. There's no story-driven elements that are pushing you to play this game. Now you can craft, I think what you're alluding to is like, you can kind of craft your own story with these characters. You can kind of fill in the blanks creatively in your mind, like, oh, I'm going to use this skin and I'm going to kind of create my version of this character in the game. And they have, little cutscene videos that are like, and we know for a fact this is based in the same world as Titanfall 2. So if you've played that game, you can kind of fill in blanks and, kind of create fan fiction in your mind. But in terms of like an actual like story-driven narrative here, there's absolutely nothing, which makes this kind of an interesting case study. Mm-hmm. But it can still be really fun to play. It can still be really freaking fun to play. And mechanically, it's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, when I first picked up Apex Legends, and I mean, this game is all a bit, really is has been about, disrupting the industry. I mean, we just look at how it was announced, and this was almost a year ago. It was announced, and then I think the rumors leaked 2 days before it was announced, and it was announced that you could download and play it that day. You downloaded it and played it that day. It felt amazing. It felt polished. Like people people actually, put a lot of care into this. They weren't going to release something that was total crap. It was incredible to play, and I just remembered it taking everything by storm.
The things that stops people like me from coming back, and maybe Jake, you have the same experience. I want to hear. That keeps me coming back consistently to Apex Legends is that the skill curve at some point you just fall far by. If you don't consistently play this game pretty much every day or at least a couple times a week, you fall so far behind the skill curve that it's just not fun anymore because you literally can't even function in the game.
So in my experience, when Apex first came out, I played a lot of it. And it's become less and less since its initial release. But what ultimately brings me back to Apex is that in terms of the mechanics and the actual systems, like mods, like you said, the tiered loot, which is, a hallmark trait of Battle Royales, it's really easy to hop back into mechanically.